and where there might be some confusion, either on my part or on other people's part, people that I have a ton of respect for. And this stuff is complex. It's in some cases it's insanely complex. The tooltips do not tell you exactly what's going on. It all requires testing, and it's very easy to be fooled by testing and think something's happening that's not, or something is not happening that is. So we're looking at the Barber here, and the way it works: critical strikes and all subsequent damage within 2.6 seconds, in this case up to 4 seconds, is absorbed by your target, and then the absorbed damage erupts onto surrounding enemies. Stored damage is increased by 14% per second. A glancing read of this would suggest that once you crit an enemy, they will not die until that duration is over. And so while 4 seconds would be best for single target because you can build up the increase per second larger, on smaller targets this would be a net negative as far as clear speed, because you have to wait longer for them to actually die. So it would make sense in that scenario to suggest or to recommend that 2 seconds is actually the best in slot, because it will slow you down less. In fact, it won't slow you down, because the damage it'll do will be worth the squeeze of the 2 seconds versus maybe you'd kill it in 1 or 1.5 seconds. However, from my experience, that's not what's happening. It is not waiting, in this case, 2.6 seconds to kill an enemy. It is waiting until either 2.6 seconds or until the enemy has taken enough damage that would kill them anyway, and then they are just exploding. If that is the case, if I'm right about that, then the 4 seconds is actually the best, because there is no downside. There is absolutely no downside, because they either would have survived 4 seconds anyway, and then you get the explosion, or they're going to die before the 4 seconds at the exact time they would have died anyway. So, just as an example, we'll kill a few enemies here at the 2.6 seconds and show, well, this is a tier 21. This is way smaller, way lower than I'm actually farming, but it'll give you a good example, because you know, they're going to die even quicker. So we do this, and things just kind of blow up. Like, it's no different. I'm not killing these any slower than if I wasn't wearing the Barber. In fact, I'm killing them quite a bit faster, because they're getting the explosions going off pretty much instantly. And so if I'm right about this, and I'd like to see discussion from others who have been testing this to tell me if they think I'm wrong about something, I'm missing something on this. But if I'm right about this, then we should actually be recommending the 4 second one, because the 4 second one has all of the uptime, all of the benefit on single target of getting the maximum amount of damage increase, the maximum multiplier, excuse you, corpse bow, the maximum amount of increase. So we get the 4 seconds on the, in this case it's 14, it goes higher than this, so I'd get 14, 20, 56% increased damage every 4 seconds on a boss, instead of something in the 30s. With no downside on enemies that would die before 4 seconds, because they're just going to die whenever they die anyway. And so if I'm right on this... Oh, I see some people in chat that I know. All right, Gymnasium agrees with me. Okay. Gymnasium is a big speed farmer. So if I'm right on this, then we should be recommending the 4 second Barber, not the 2 second. Really curious to know if there's people who have tested and seen anything different in this, but I'm actually fairly confident that that's the way it works. And so you actually want a 4 second duration Barber. All right, sweet. Thank you, Jim. I get extra sourcing from Jim, who tests the shit out of stuff. As it gives, I read that one already. A time smaller than your exploit glyph. Yeah, that doesn't seem to matter. We have no evidence that anything scales the damage off of that explosion except for that increased damage. Here, let's add this to the video. All right, let's add this to the video. The other possibility is that there is some sort of increased damage that's being added on the explosion if you maintain something like vulnerable, if you go through invulnerable. So you have vulnerable, the explosion happens, you get vulnerable damage on the explosion as well. I have not seen any evidence that anything at all scales that damage beyond the damage you're adding together all over that duration and the multiplier on the Barber. And I've seen others who have been testing this say the same thing. And so if anyone has any concrete evidence that the Barber scales, the actual explosion that happens at the end scales off of any sort of increased or multiplicative damage beyond the stuff on the heart, I'd be very, very interested in knowing. If that is not the case, then the 4 seconds should be the best. Okay, we added that in.